views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
And then we expand on them with very. I'll finish off the change by buying gum. Pardon? What? And it took me a while to decipher what he was saying. I came up with we can get better at what we're weak at, and we can even get better at what we're strong at. What makes communication healthy or effective? And Welcome to this edition of What Matters, and I am here today with a special guest. Welcome, Nelly.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very glad you reached out. I'm glad that you're here. Yeah. So today our topic is gun violence and fatherlessness. Nelly James is a local motivational speaker.
Yeah.
Actually, Nelly, how old are you?
25.
25. So young, sprite, motivational speaker here from Toronto, and he's from the Jane and Finch area. So if you're familiar with Toronto, I don't need to explain that, but if you're not, if you're one of our international viewers, Jane and Finch is considered a rougher neighborhood than most.
That's right.
What is very interesting, however, is I've had several guests on my show from the Jane and Finch area. That area produces a lot of artists, a lot of motivated people, a lot of social activists as well. So I think it's very, very interesting. Although Jane and Finch has a reputation for poverty and crime, I'm seeing some spectacular, amazing people coming out of that neighborhood. So I think that there's a lot to say for the community, even though there are a lot of problems. There obviously are a lot of gems. So I'm really grateful that you're here. So our topic today is very, very sobering. It's very serious, but it's extremely important. Today we're going to talk about gun violence and fatherlessness. And there is a definite connection between the two. Now, I'm very sad for the circumstances that put Nelly and I in contact. I do follow him on social media, and we're beginning of October, so it's almost 3 weeks ago, there was a shooting in Mississauga, one of the GTA communities. Now, I can't remember what Nelly's first post was, but the one that really hit me was when he wrote, "The 17-year-old who died was my cousin." And I felt it for him. And your cousin's name was Jonathan Davis, right? Jonathan Davis, 17 years old. Jonathan was a bystander. He had absolutely nothing to do with anything that was happening. He just happened to be there. There were 6 people that were wounded and 1 was killed, and it was Jonathan. Now, from all news reports, from everything that everyone said, he was a shining light. He was a great kid, and I'm very happy that they are calling him a boy. They are calling him a kid because he was 17 years old. I did see a news report about your cousin saying that he was a great son to his mother and his father was experiencing some problems with his vision, and he was there for him. And I believe one of the stories reported that he was going back into the building for his shoes. To change his shoes. Now, one of the reasons that, as I said, when he posted that it was his cousin, I really felt it because I could just see from the few words the level of shock. Because you hear about it,
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, that was Jonathan?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Nelly, will you tell us how you found out?
So it's crazy, and I'm gonna get through it. Let's see. So what happened is on the Saturday, I saw something on the news saying that how some people opened fire in Malton and multiple people were shot, right? And I'm like, okay, like, wow, that's crazy. But I didn't know that it was anything to do with Jonathan or anyone that I know. So I went out with my friends and we had a good time, right? And then I woke up in the morning and my uncle called me like 4 times. And I'm like, what's going on? So I answered the phone and he's like, oh, you know that they shot Jonathan. I'm like, what? So the first thing that came to my head was this. I was just like, are you sure? Like, are you going crazy or something? Like,
Yeah,
how?
disbelief. It's
So-
always the first.
So then he's like, yeah, they shot Jonathan. They shot my son. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say. So I'm like, where are you? You're there? And then he's like, yeah, I'm there where they shot him still, right? Because he got shot basically right in front of the house. And he was telling me that, you know, his mom right there. And she basically saw him just pass away, and my older cousin, he was telling him to duck, but I guess he was so afraid that he just wanted to get up and run, and it's still just unbelievable. I still can't believe it. Until now, I still can't believe that.
It truly is unbelievable. Now, I did have a clip that was taken from one of the windows of the building, but instead I've replaced it with another clip from the news. Here in Toronto, gun violence is a frequent occurrence, but even with the frequency that it occurs here, I know that it's nothing like many of the cities in the United States. However, it is still something that shocks Canadians. Our gun laws are very different here. It doesn't stop the illegal weapons, obviously, but the gun laws are very different. So often when Canadians hear that there was a gun accident in the home or something, we often think, well, why'd you have a gun? That's the Canadian mentality. So anybody in America that's watching, that's kind of where we're coming from. The footage from this shootout, it wasn't a shooting, it was a shootout. It was almost 10 minutes of automatic rifle fire. There was so much dust and things being blown up. It's very cloudy. The video is horrifying. It looks like a scene out of a war. But what we will do is play you a little clip from one of the news reels. Selena, if you'd play that clip, please.
An entire community has been left searching for answers after a senseless shooting Saturday that killed Jonathan Davis and wounded 5 others. Their ages ranging from 13 years old to a woman. By all accounts, Davis was kind.
All of his time was pretty much spent either with his friends or his video games. There was not really much else to him. He was supportive of his mother and his father.
Blues Kumar is a prominent member in the neighborhood. He's organized a vigil for Davis later in the week and is encouraging others with information about the shooting to talk to police.
Every single person here can help. Everyone, every child, every mother, every father, every relative is able to help and support. All we need you to do is come out.
A memorial has been set up for the teen both at his high school and here where he lived.
We need peace. We need peace back in our community.
We need peace. We need peace back in our community. We're about to go to commercial break, but there's something that was said during that clip that I would like to address with you, Nelly, in the next segment. And I actually forgot to, maybe Selena will find something really quick, but there's a saying that says, snitches get stitches, and many other warnings and saying and so forth. And of course, the community leader in that clip was, pleading for people to come forth and say what they know and so forth. And that's actually something that I would like to talk about a bit. The culture of staying quiet, the culture of not telling, not reporting to the beast, not being a snitch, not telling the man, and what it's actually doing to our communities, who we end up protecting, who's allowed to walk amongst us and stay free, and usually go and commit the same crimes again. So we'll touch a bit on that when we come back from this break. And Nelly and I, we're gonna reach for some solutions and talk about what can be done about this epidemic and some of the root causes, which, as we know, is fatherlessness. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to this episode of What Matters. I'm Erica Elita, and I'm here today with Nelly James. And we are talking about gun violence and fatherlessness, the connection and how it affects our community. So in the first segment, we spoke about Nelly's cousin, Jonathan, who tragically passed away. It was September 18th, I believe. September 18th, Saturday, September 18th, at 6:22 in the afternoon. There was a massive shooting, leaving hundreds of rounds littered all over a community building. 6 people were injured in total, ranging from ages 13 to 50. His cousin was killed. A bystander in the building he lived in, going to get his shoes. And another girl went to, I believe, close her window, and she was shot in her arm, and it went out the other side, and a 50-year-old woman. And one of the clips I did not include, you have one of the police representatives talking about the fact that it was just indiscriminate. Yeah. They came out, and they just shot up the place. Yeah. And, of course, there are people who had remarks, and it's not a joke, it's not funny, but one of the things that people said was, imagine all that firepower, all those rounds, and they didn't even hit anybody they went for. Yeah. Instead, injuring and killing innocent people that have absolutely nothing to do with their beef. Now, the question then becomes, why? Why do these things happen? Why are they happening? And Selena, there's one clip there that's it's writing with highlighting on it, and I believe I called it Toronto. I'm going out of order now, but so there's been research papers obviously done, massive research papers talking about what is the cause. This is from a lady named Erica Lanson. It is an academic paper, and here you see the highlighted part. As the public struggled to understand the root cause of this violence and how to solve it, one particular view emerged to a dominant and comprehensible explanation. Black single mothers in Toronto were raising sons in households where fathers were absent. Now, I am a single mom. I've been a single mom for decades. And I can tell you that a lot of single mothers bristle and we become very defensive when we're listed as one of the causes or reasons for this. But I think that what needs to be understood by single moms, by women, We are not a cause, we are a symptom. We are a symptom of the problem. The problem is the fatherlessness. They're not there. The reason you are a single mother is because the father is not there. It happens for a multitude of reasons, but it is a trend that has been growing. It is getting worse and worse, and more children are growing up in homes without fathers.
Right.
And there's also, Selena, if you'd pull that up before Nelly and I get into this a bit more, there was the police, Toronto police. They also asked the police, because obviously the police are the ones sent out into the streets to police this. And we can also discuss neighborhood policing, which I think would be very effective. We need to police our own communities. The Toronto police said the most prominent police frame attributed the problem of gun violence in Toronto to the proliferation of gangs, illegal gun smuggling, and illicit drug trafficking. Other frames, to a lesser degree, blame structural factors such as poverty and unemployment, disintegrated neighborhoods and families, and a faulty legal system. So again there, these things, the poverty, the unemployment, the disintegrated neighborhoods and families, that is all, again, you could bring that right back to fatherlessness for many different reasons. Now today we're not here to discuss why exactly so many men are missing. That's a whole other show in and of itself, right? Right. But we do have to talk about the effect. Now, Nelly, you would be one of these kids, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So you were raised without your dad.
Yeah.
Do you have contact with him? Do you know him at all?
Yeah, I know him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many a times that I tried to reach out. It wasn't too successful. There's many a times when I had to go visit that didn't go too well.
Mm-hmm.
Many a times it didn't go too well. So, long story short, I just left it where it was.
Now, when you say didn't go too well, what do you mean? Like, what do you
like, he's one of those people
Mm-hmm.
that can be very negative,
Okay.
right? So, he'd say a lot of negative things over the phone or when I go there in person to try to, detour me from my dream or like try to kill my dream. I kind of labeled him as a Dracula dream killer.
Right.
So, me as a person and knowing what I've been through and him knowing what I've been through with my mom as well, and for him to come at me like that as well, like I didn't really, I didn't appreciate it. So I kind of just left it where it was.
Now, have you always had a relationship or always had contact with him, or is it something that happened when you got a little bit older?
Well, he left the house when I was about 9 years old.
Okay.
And since then, I'd probably go spend summers with him.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my younger sisters would go and spend summers with him. And as I got older, I just realized that things started to get more on edge, a little bit more rockier. It's almost like if, I can't put a spin on it, but our spirits were clashing. Like I felt something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And around what age was that? Did you find it? Because you said as you got older. Around what age did you find that?
around maybe 16.
Around 16. Okay,
Yeah.
because I was here, I was guessing in my head around 12, 13.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that that's usually when mothers are kind of like, here, take this. Like
Yeah.
these now this is your domain.
Yeah.
When the son hits his teen years, early teen years, oftentimes that's really when the mother will defer to the father. So to me, it's very interesting that it actually is when you found that you were coming apart. And I won't speak for you, but let me guess, this would probably be a time in your life when you needed him more than ever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like a lot of things were happening. I had a lot of questions and all this stuff, but I didn't feel comfortable going to him, and I didn't feel comfortable going to my mom because of our situation. So I felt like I had nobody. So, just like these kids nowadays, I could have turned that anger into being a monster like these guys. But
Right.
instead, of course, I did my fair share of stuff, but like I channeled that into a positive energy to see how I can motivate the youth and stir them into a different direction.
Did you have a male role model? Was there somebody that you
There was somebody actually.
Yeah.
There was a family friend
Mm-hmm.
that went to our church. His name was Daryl. Very, very good guy.
Big up Daryl.
Yeah, big up Daryl, and another guy who's, well, I'm gonna name two more.
Sure, absolutely.
My older brother, Willie.
Thank you, Willie.
Yeah, he's A1, always there. And next guy, John Keane, amazing guy. I remember he was one of the people who really just like sponsored my dreams, gave me ideas, and he's just an amazing individual.
So what I'm taking from this is, although your dad wasn't there for you in the ways that you felt you needed him, you were fortunate enough to have some male role models in your life and that were there. And I think that is part of what made a major difference for you in your life. And really, men, I'm out there, I'm speaking to you. Whether you're a dad, and 6 in 10 of you are fathers, whether you're a dad or you're not, whatever time you have, whatever you can give, whatever young boys you see in your community, teenage boys, young men in their 20s, just this, hey, how you doing? Just that touch on the shoulder. You don't know how much they long for the feeling of a man's hand on their shoulder. You may not be able to volunteer every day. You might not be able to be part of the big boys and girl or whatever, but anything you can give to a young man or girl in your community that is missing that male role model, it is going to change something. Kids have a hole in their soul in the shape of their dad. And if a father is unwilling or unable to fill that hole, it can leave a wound that is not easily healed. And here you are speaking to a woman who grew up without a dad, and here's a man who grew up without a dad, and we can both tell you that for sure it impacts you tremendously. Not just in your childhood, but then as you go through life and you try to navigate relationships and you realize you have no reference. You have no reference. So the men out there that are watching, please, whatever you have to give, whatever time, whatever words of encouragement, if someone can shadow you, if you know how to fix cars, if you garden, whatever it is, that little set of eyes that you see watching you, invite them by, speak to them. It can completely change the trajectory of a young man's life. So of course now, the 10 minutes is gone again. So we're going to commercials. So when we come back, Nelly's going to speak to us about some of the solutions. Like, what can we do to make this better? What can we change? How do we get the connection between fatherhood and peace in our streets? We'll be right back after this break.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
When there's a loss of father, there's a loss of the ability to channel the testosterone that males show during their adolescent years. And with the exception of Columbine, all these shootings were in the adolescent years. And so we have this type of lack of channeling of testosterone by the father and when testosterone is not channeled well, you have it becoming destructive energy. And so
destructive energy. So young boys going from being, 5 and 6 and 9, and now they're headed into puberty, and then they get big. And, I did puberty too. I wasn't a boy, but I did puberty too. And it's a really confusing time. Even with the best guidance, with the most information, the most balanced, level-headed child, puberty will really take you for a loop. The hormone changes, what's happening to your body, your attractions, how you're supposed to function in the world. All of these things are going on, and then now add in absolutely no guidance. And one of the things I actually want to ask you in the last segment, you said you had questions. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to be specific, but what types of things were your questions about?
Well, questions pertaining to, like, when I got older, I wanted to find out, like, what a woman like
girls.
What type of girl should I date? Like, is this girl acting okay? Is this how a girl should act?
Behave, right.
You know what I mean? That type of questions I had, but I didn't have no one to direct me. So I ended up
winging it.
Basically.
You wing it. You just, okay, well, she seems nice, and I guess this is how we should act, so
yeah.
Okay. And that's the other thing, too. Not having a father in the home means that the woman also can't show you what her role is, because she is not interacting with a man on a regular basis. So now the child does not get to see what it looks like, or one version of what it could possibly look like, to see a man and a woman interact on a regular basis. And it also will then skew how you make decisions about women, right? So all of these things come together. So what, in that clip where he talked about channeling the testosterone, what do you think we can do with that? So you have far too many young boys. Selena, this Canada stat, there's a stat that says how many, I think there's 19.3% of, there we go, she's so good, 19.2% of children in Canada live with one parent. And then they break it down by province. And I'm actually surprised. Nova Scotia has the largest percentage, and Alberta would be the smallest. But still, you're looking at 20% on average of children. That's 1 in 5 kids in Canada are growing up in a household with one parent. And usually, that parent is the mother. So, Selena, could you play the next clip about purpose? And then I'm going to have Nelly speak on that.
Underlying gap between heroic intelligence and health intelligence, which has always been able to be filled by people having in the society at large a larger sense of purpose. I'm a hero if I'm a warrior. I'm a hero if I'm a sole breadwinner. Now there's not so much need for the hero as a sole breadwinner or the hero as a warrior. And so there's a lot of purpose void among boys today. And so purpose void combined with fatherlessness tends to leave a lack of the ability of a boy to have his testosterone constructively checked.
That's why they go out there and just do whatever. Because they're trying to find, like, especially for me, when I didn't have my dad around, I still don't, right? I was out there trying to see how I can find purpose in different things. Right? So whether it was selling drugs, whether it was running with gangs, whether it was, getting involved in the wrong company, at that time I felt like, okay, maybe this is my purpose because it feels good.
Right.
But like as I got older, like it's something that you just have to like educate yourself on and look for guidance.
So how does a young boy with no male to guide him, how do you educate yourself? Where do you recommend, if there is a young boy out there right now, what do you recommend he does? Where does he go?
I would recommend, because even when I was in that state, what I started to pick up is writing. I like to tell people to write, you know, because it's a great way to let things off your chest. It's a great way to express your feelings on life, on your situation, right? So my pointer to the kids out there, the young men out there, is to write about your feelings. Be as raw as you can, because when I was writing my first book, there was some F-bombs in there, right? But be as blunt as you can with yourself, because then, like, no one's reading it. You can be as raw as you can, right? But also, I would encourage them to reach out to somebody. Try to reach out to somebody, you know. If you have a pastor, if you go to church and you have a pastor, try to talk to that pastor a little bit. If you have an older brother, try to talk to them a little bit, right? And obviously, I like to say to even talk to God. It's good when you have God in your life, for real, because there's no one out there who's going to really direct you like him, right? So that's my message to them.
I think that is such great advice. Right. One of the things I really like about your suggestion is it's damn near close to free. All you got to do is find a pen or a pencil. Right. You know, I was in the car driving here, and I said, you know, I think of all the wonderful things I would do with money. And I was like, we should have a fund for therapy for boys that need it. Yeah. You know, so that the Black therapists in our community can get paid the way they deserve to be paid. But sadly, the people who need the most are often people without the kind of money that are needed. And so I think a wonderful thing would have a fund so that the professionals can get what they need to remain professionals and feed their families, but our kids could get the therapy that they need, because it is so needed. And I think that, you know, what I like about this whole therapy movement is it's contagious. Once one person's like, yeah, that was really good, that worked for me, and you're like, wait. Then they're like, okay, that seems kind of cool, maybe I could do it too. So, Selena, could you load up the next clip for us?
Fathers involved. Let's get fathers involved in PTAs. Let's get our sons trained from kindergarten, first grade on, to think of themselves as having one of their most honorable roles, be a future father. Let's train our daughters to know what is valuable about a father's input. Why is roughhousing so important to distinguishing between assertiveness versus aggressiveness? That's one of the contributions of roughhousing. How does roughhousing allow the dad to leverage the roughhousing into earlier bedtimes and finishing homework? What is the value of boundary enforcement that dads tend to have? What's the value of teasing that dads tend to do? Now, the good news is that mothers can do all these things.
I cut it there on purpose where he said mothers can do all these things, because there's a second part to that. But we do have a question on Facebook that Nelly is going to address, or a statement. Change is needed. Sons are being wiped out by other sons. Too much and too many. Gail, thank you for that, and you're absolutely right. And I've seen some movements, T-shirts, sons don't kill our sons. And that is one of the things that is so heartbreaking. But I think what was stated in the second clip about lack of purpose, they don't have purpose and they don't value their lives. And because they don't value their lives, they don't value other people's lives. They just don't. A lot of these men, if you ask them, you know, what is your dreams or your hopes or your aspirations? Where will you be in 5 years?
Yeah, any clue?
Never thought about it. Yeah. Never thought past the moment that they're actually in. They have no plans for their futures because they don't believe in their futures. Yeah. So there's no preparation, and they don't believe in the other son's future.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, but also I feel like a lot of anger. I was thinking about this the other day as well. So why these guys might be going out there and just letting the guns loose.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's a bit of anger. There's a lot of anger that comes with not having your father around. You start to think, like, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? Why did he leave? A lot of men or young men or even boys ask themselves this question, but they don't share it. Oh, why doesn't he like me? Or maybe I'm not good enough. And then you go out there feeling like you're not good enough. Your self-esteem's on the floor. And, you know, someone might talk to you the wrong way. And you're just channeling it. You're just building it. I know that's happening to me because I was relatively a quiet guy, right? And then one day you just snap.
Explosive rage.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that you're seeing is explosive rage.
That's right.
Over trivial, unimportant things. Our boys are dying.
Yeah.
When we come back from this break, Nelly has a poem that he's written for us. He's going to tell us a bit about the book that he's written as well. And we're going to wrap up with some of the solutions. What can we do with our boys? How can we change this tide? We'll be right back after this break.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
The ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
But the bad news is that the child ultimately looks in the mirror and says, who am I? And who he is half his dad and half his mom. So when he looks in his mirror and if he hears negative things about his dad, or he thinks his dad abandoned him, or doesn't see him as much as he would like to see his dad, he fears that he is not worthy, that he has just been rejected. And these things haunt a boy. So we see all over the world where there is a boy crisis. It's not with all boys. It's with boys more than for any other reason who are without their dads. But in the United States, it's magnified because our guns magnify the mental health problem. It allows the boy who is already troubled to have access to a way of destroying an enormous number of people in a short period of time. And that, combined with the glorification of guns in the culture, leads to that being a way that these problems manifest.
Explosive rage. That was amazing. Well, they both just said the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
You both said the same thing in different ways. And the guns really, they magnify the mental health problem. And that's what it is, guys. Mm-hmm. The depression, the sadness, the loneliness, the lack of self-esteem, all of that is a mental condition that our boys are growing up with. They're sad, they're depressed. They don't feel self-worth. And in our society, men are taught to display anger as one of the few emotions that they show. And so if you have all these negative feelings inside of you, you get rage.
That's right.
Or apathy. You also have a lot of apathy. They just don't care. They just don't care. So you have written a book.
I have. Well, yeah, I have two.
You have two books,
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have one of them here with you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Let's show them the cover. So I love it.
Yeah.
55 quotes to greatness.
Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about writing this book.
Well, this book, I've written this book to help people stay in a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because each day that we go through, all of our days aren't great. we're not gonna have a great day every day, right? So this book was just put out there to, when you have some spare time and you're feeling kind of down, you just turn a page and just uplifting quotes to help you get through your day.
Amazing.
Or even life.
How do people get hold of this book?
You can purchase this on Amazon.com.
Okay.
Or you can reach out to me.
Okay, awesome. And he will put the link underneath the show so that you can reach out to him. But 55 Quotes to Greatness by Patrick James, all about to change. And that is his tagline on his social media.
That's right.
Things are about to change.
Yeah.
And so in that last clip, he spoke about how those feelings of abandonment, that this is what has us angry. So you spoke about some solutions, and obviously you've taken up some of them yourself, and you write.
Yeah.
Write, reach out to people, and I know that's hard. When your baseline feeling is rejection, you don't want any more rejection. That's often why these young men don't reach out. They don't want anyone else to tell them no. And they don't feel worthy, so they don't feel anybody's going to do that for them. But in this next clip, he also has some great solutions. Selena, could you load that up for us?
But we need to get we need to have more male teachers in elementary schools. We need to basically take, if I were president, I would say, if a community has, let's say, 70% a lack of fathers, which is what is true of the African American inner city community, then let's have 70% male teachers from elementary school, not only elementary school, but also in nursery school, so that the boy has constructive male role models from a very early age, so that he doesn't have to go from a mom-dominated family to a female-dominated school, and then the first male that he has to sort of look up to is a gang leader.
Thank you, Warren. I think everybody needs to hear this, and we need to start having a serious, less emotional, and more clinical conversation about how to solve this problem together. Thank you again.
I really liked that part. I thought that was a really concrete solution. And what the host had said at the end is having a more clinical and a less emotional conversation. Now, of course, this is a very emotional topic. We're talking about our children, and they're literally killing each other in the streets. These aren't adults going out and killing kids. These are kids killing kids. And it is emotional. And the single mothers are tired of being blamed, and the fathers that are present are tired of being ignored. Because there are men out there that are such good dads, and they're always just hearing about the absentee fathers and the men that don't do.
Salute to them.
Good fathers, they do three things. They provide, they nurture, and they guide. That's what they do. And when that is missing, and then you have the one parent that's there working double time just to provide basics, nothing extra, no extracurricular activities, everything gets weight. And then also, too, not only are you talking about economic deficits, but you're talking about time spent deficits. Because it can't be with you if I'm at work. At one of my 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. Just to keep basics on. So you're unsupervised, and the first guy that pays any attention to you is the 22-year-old dude in the building that's really, really cool, and he's got a nice chain, and he seems to always have money, and he says to your 14-year-old son, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" The beginning of the end.
That's right.
That's it. So I really loved the suggestion about the amount of male teachers. Again, the male presence in the community. It is true, a lot of boys grow up with women, and it's not even like their mom and their uncles and so forth. It's their mom and their aunties and their grandma. And so it's all females. And women are wonderful. Believe me, I believe that. But they're needed. So James, would you read, Nelly, would you read your poem for us?
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. So it's called Gun Violence. So it goes a little like this. Gun violence is something that affected many lives, including mine. I'm really starting to believe that this is the sign of the times of the last days. My mind has been in a haze since last week, since I saw what happened on the news I was so shook that I couldn't speak. And now, we have a funeral to attend. I mean, man, when will it end? Y'all are shooting young and old. Are your hearts really that cold? Man, I have no words but to say this type of pain burns. There's nothing you earn from taking a life, whether you took a sister, brother, uncle, dad, mom, husband, or wife. All you've done is cause pain and strife. But I also want to let you know that God doesn't sleep and that the devil, he will defeat.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm so glad you reached out. I'm so glad that you accepted my invitation. You know, we watch the news and we hear these tragic things, and honestly, to protect our psyche, we honestly can't take it all on. We can't. If we become sad over every sad thing that we hear, we will live in constant depression, because the news is designed to only report the negative. And how it feels is that more and more each day, that's what we get. But then you have shining lights like Nelly.
Thank you.
Who step up and they share their lives and their experiences. And I think that is truly what matters. That is what's important. We go through things, and this is why I encourage people, share your story. Your story sounds so similar to someone else's. This is the face of the person that Jonathan left behind. He's gone now. His mother watched him die in the street. His father called Nelly to tell him they took my son. They're real people. And each one that's taken, the ripple effect is so huge. You're taking away our future teachers and our leaders and our fathers. Jonathan was somebody, one of these young men that actually had contact and a relationship with his dad. Yeah. And chances are he would have grown up to also be a great dad.
I'm sure.
And so, Jonathan, I know your soul will rest in peace. I thank your cousin for coming and sharing with us. And it does make me truly sad, because her sons are dying in the streets. And something needs to change. Fathers, you are important. You are essential. Selena, please put up that picture of those three men, the grandfather and the father and the son. That's one of the most touching pictures I've seen. And this is what we need. And if you are not a biological father to a child, reach out to one. There are so many that could even use your simple smile of encouragement on their way home from school. Reach out. As a community, we have to save ourselves. Right. Nelly, I thank you. I thank the viewers of What Matters. I'm going to go and try to pull myself together, but thank you. It's really important. We've got to fix this. We have to fill the gap. Any comments, questions, please? Nelly's tagged in the post. You know how to reach me. I'm Erica Elita, aka Erica Edwards, and I'm here to talk about what matters. Thank you.